Have you ever felt like your brain has this hidden potential, like a secret power you just can't seem to unlock? Well, what if I told you the key isn't some secret at all, but actually a set of really simple rules based on how your brain is, well, how it's actually wired? Today, we are going to bridge that gap between cutting-edge brain science and practical, everyday strategies that can help you learn faster and, honestly, just work a whole lot smarter. Okay, let's dive right in.
The Peanuts creator, Charles Schulz, he absolutely nailed it with this one. This idea of untapped potential is really at the heart of what we're talking about today. We all have these incredible minds, right? But most of us are just kind of coasting along in a few familiar gears, completely unaware of the power we could be tapping into.
And that is the big question, isn't it? Well, to find the answer, we kind of need to pop the hood and understand a little bit about the machine itself, your brain. Because once we see how it works, engaging those higher gears becomes, well, surprisingly straightforward. All right, first up, inside the machine, we're going to take a quick look at the brain's basic hardware, just to get a handle on how it's built to learn. So, your brain is basically this giant, incredible network of billions of cells called neurons. But here's the thing, the real magic, it happens at the synapse, that tiny little gap between the neurons. And this is so crucial. Learning isn't really about growing new brain cells. It's all about forging and strengthening the connections at these synapses. I really want this point to land. Every single time you learn a new skill or a new fact, you are physically rewiring your brain. I mean, it's not some vague, abstract thing happening in the ether. You are literally building new pathways and making the ones you already have stronger and faster. This means learning is something you actively do to your brain's physical structure. And your brain is smart about this. It uses different systems for different kinds of learning. On one side, you've got your fact memory. That's the what. It's the stuff you consciously recall, like, your wedding day. But on the other side, you've got skill memory. That's the how. It's the stuff you do without even thinking, like riding a bike. Your body just knows. So, we've peeked at the hardware. Now let's talk about the operating system. It turns out that all that complex, confusing science can pretty much be boiled down to one simple, incredibly powerful rule. Okay, the scientific term for this whole process is long-term potentiation, or LTP. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but the concept is super simple. When you use a neural pathway, the connection between those neurons gets more effective, more efficient. It's basically the science behind that old saying, practice makes perfect. And this is the phrase that just perfectly captures that whole complex idea. This is the golden rule, right here. When you activate a set of neurons at the same time, doesn't matter if it's by thinking about a concept, practicing a skill, or linking two ideas, the connection between them gets stronger. They literally wire together. So here it is, the bottom line. Your brain is a pattern-making, connection-building machine. That's what it loves to do. Learning effectively isn't about just cramming a bunch of isolated facts into your head. It's about helping your brain do what it does best, linking new information to stuff you already know, and spotting the patterns between ideas. So how can we make our neurons fire and wire together more effectively? Well, here are some fantastic science-backed strategies. You've got spaced practice, that's reviewing info in short bursts over time, which is way more effective than cramming. Then there's deep processing, actually thinking about the meaning of what you're learning, which creates much stronger connections. And things like mind maps, or even just explaining a concept to a friend, those things literally force your brain to build those crucial links. Okay, final section. Let's get really practical and talk about some actionable strategies you can use to really power up your mind. Effective learning actually starts before you even open a book. First, always get the big picture. Your brain needs a kind of mental map of where it's going. It helps it connect to all the new details later. Second, you gotta find that sweet spot between high challenge and low threat. You wanna be stimulated, but not stressed out. And finally, manage your mood. Seriously, if you're anxious or bored, your brain literally diverts its resources away from higher level thinking. So let's talk about practice. We usually think of it as just doing something over and over and over again. But neuroscience shows it's actually a much more structured process. When you learn a new skill, you're moving through 3 very distinct stages of actually acquiring it. So in the first one, the cognitive stage, you're all conscious thought. You're thinking about every single step. Then you move into the associative stage. Things start to flow a bit more. You're relying less on the rules and more on the feel of it. And finally, you get to the autonomous stage. And here, the skill has become a motor program. It's automatic, just like riding that bicycle we talked about.
Understanding this helps you see that those early, clumsy efforts, they're a totally necessary part of the journey to becoming a master. And finally, let's not forget that your brain is a biological organ, right? Your day-to-day lifestyle directly impacts its ability to learn. Sleep is when your brain actually sorts and stores memories. Short breaks prevent burnout. Healthy food provides the right kind of fuel, and minimizing stress keeps your higher thinking functions online and ready to go. It really is all connected. So, you've seen the science, and now you've got the strategies. Your brain's hidden gears are just sitting there, waiting. The only question left is, which one are you going to engage first?